Beginning transmission 127, Ringside, file under sports ball.
Come on, you fuckers think that just because a guy reads comics he can't start some shit? I'll fucking take all you want!
Welcome to this week's episode of the Funny Books and Firewater Podcast.
面白い本と歌手ポッドキャストの今週のエピソードへようこそ。
Ignore her. She drinks.
Each week, a motley band of comic readers / amateur bartenders attempt to pair cocktails with comic books.
毎週漫画の読者の雑多なバンドはスラッシュアマチュア入札しようと漫画とペアカクテルバーです。
All while trying to not sound like complete morons in the
すべ
process.
ての中にしようとして音ではないような完了プロセスで低能です。
Kind of like a speakeasy kind of thing. It's kind of cool.
You can find these idiots on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr.
Facebook、Twitter、Instagram や Tumblr にこれらのバカを検索できます。
No, what? You read too many comic books.
We now join Brian, Jeremiah, Adam, and Todd.
They're used to curious sights which they attribute to alcoholic delusions. They may be drinkers, Robin, but they're also human beings.
I'm too sober for this shit. Here is a drinking game to play while you listen to this episode. Please drink responsibly, and don't take it too seriously. And if you don't like it, blame William.
Take a drink anytime Mr. Porg decides to interject himself into the conversation. Shut up, Porg.
You need to take a drink anytime Manny Bothands makes an appearance, and I get groans and fuck yous from Adam and Maya.
Fuck Manny Bothan!
Manny Bothand is pure genius. Take a drink anytime someone refers to me as the cum dumpster.
Take a drink every time the Shame Bell makes an appearance.
Also, take a drink anytime we act like the Member Berries from South Park. Remember when they were on South Park?
I remember.
Yeah, and take a drink every time we do the bad German accent, yeah.
Ah, drink, fucker!
If you have any suggestions for rules you would like to add, email us at funnybooksandfirewater@gmail.com or use the contact link on our website, funnybooksandfirewater.com.
Hello, everyone!
Hello,
Maya is going to show you his dick.
Oh, really? Is he charging for that?
My Instagram at the Mr.
go to his
Maya
Patreon.
or my Twitter at Mr. Maya.
Shouldn't you be referencing your Tumblr for this?
Hey, look, no,
Yeah.
I was segueing into my introduction.
Oh.
Everyone
also, I think you mean,
all
well,
over it.
you're jumping ahead of the
Shitting on
game, man.
everything.
We're not there yet.
Also, if you want to do like a porn Patreon, it's actually onlyfans.com.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's what is it?
Onlyfans.com. It's
Oh,
like
yeah?
the porn version of Patreon.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
call me Bottle
Is that where
Rocket.
you're, is that
Wait,
where
what is it called again?
Onlyfans.
Okay, so if you don't mind, go to our OnlyFans account, onlyfans.com/funnybooks and justwater.
So welcome to episode 127. This week we are doing Ringside, right in the heart, well, sort of in the middle, sort of a little past the middle point of our month of sports ball books. Sports ball. Go sports.
Oh, did we do this out of
And,
order since I wasn't recording the last one? Was that supposed to be last?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh.
So we're not going to tell everybody that, so we recorded out of order, so we're going to keep this in order.
but
So
we just-
next week we will be doing Mara.
Mara.
You know, not that we've already recorded it. Mara,
Sarah, Mara,
whatever.
Kara.
Here's the thing, though. When I punch that into the computer to do the vocal, like the computer voice pronounced it the way I pronounce it.
So you're going, the computer voice is the standard.
I'm just saying the computer naturally assumed that it was that way.
It's wrong.
So I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. I'm just saying, if it feels weird to say Mara. Mara sounds like a name I've actually heard. You know? Mara sounds weird.
This is why I was confused then, because last episode we promoted for October. That's why I'm glad I asked, because I was like, "Oh, we're doing Witch Doctors." And you're like, "No, we're doing Ringside." I'm like, "We just talked about the Halloween." What?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we haven't. We did this out of order, because here's the thing: is Maya is a wrestling guy, so we're recording this out of
and
order. It'll air in order, but we recorded it out of order.
I got stuff to talk about later because this was a huge week for pro wrestling.
Some wrestling.
Okay. Well, then we'll get right into it. I don't know how much of that inside baseball discussion of us recording out of order I left in there, but
all of it.
Whatever. It's the first time I've recorded this show out of order, and I'm sure I've royally confused fucking everyone apparently.
So back to the inside baseball. When we talked about Mara when we recorded, did you properly enumerate that episode?
Yeah, no, it'll be the right. It'll be the right order, and it will be the last book.
I
of the
hear
month.
you, but did you call like 128?
Yeah, when you intro
did,
the
yes.
episode, did you use the right number?
I didn't use it at all. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, I think you said we're
episode number.
Mara.
That could be actually a drinking game. Is every time I forget which number of episode we're on, take a drink. That definitely could be another drinking game because I forget.
You know, we have all these drinking games. Like we don't like these people.
I know. And William sent me more that we need to record as well and add. Yeah, he sent me 2 more. I sent you guys the email.
All right.
But our dear friend William sent us more drinking game rules. We'll add those in.
William.
Hi, William.
Okay, well, we'll get into intros. We'll get on our way since Maya has important things to talk about in the world of wrestling. And in case you haven't guessed, this book being titled Ringside is about the wrestling. So,
although, did you like that I cleverly gave you guys a crime book disguised as a wrestling book?
Yeah, but I mean, next week's book is sort of a superhero book disguised as a volleyball book.
Nice.
Yeah, so, that's what happened. And actually, my recommendation for this week actually is sort of a goofy sort of comedy with an actual sort of interesting storyline behind it. So, it's a whole other thing. But getting into it, so Mr. Maya is our wrestling expert, so we'll introduce him right now. How are you, Mr. Maya?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Are you more of an expert than Adam? Am I going to insult Adam by calling you the expert?
No, not at all. No.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Might as well got me back into wrestling.
Oh, okay.
I've been the pill pusher for many a people in our little friend circle for wrestling.
Is there any wrestling events on Sunday?
This Sunday? No.
Okay, there's nothing interesting going on this Sunday?
Just you in your hotel room.
No.
I'm not getting a hotel room for this one.
Well, the week this comes out, there might be. I don't know.
Well, I get that. I'm just saying I'll be in town in a few days, and so I would come and sit down and watch wrestling with Maya, and he can explain it to me.
Yeah, you can just come over. We can just watch wrestling. I can show you the thing I'm going to talk about later. It's a thing I texted you about before.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I actually saw, because I follow him on Instagram, the actor, not the other person. I don't want to spoil it. But I follow him, and he had aftermath photos.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Come on.
We'll talk about it. Anyway. Okay, well, so, Mr. Wrestling Expert himself, Mr. Maya.
Hey, I'm Mr. Maya. You heard me plug my shit earlier, but just in case you didn't, follow me on Twitter at Mr. Maya or Instagram at the Mr. Maya, and talk to me about comics or wrestling or life or whatever. I like talking to people.
Or you can watch him plug his shit on fansonly.com.
fansonly.com/funnybooks and jizzwater.
Jizzwater.
And
we all should have our own names on there.
Don't forget to slide into my DMs, y'all.
Ooh, wow. Sexy. Always the sexy talk and always deep within your DMs. We have Mr. Adam.
All up in that DM.
All up in that DM.
The DMs and the DP.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? This is Adam. I do stuff with Big Shiny Robot.
Hi, Big Shiny Robot.
Hi, Cassidy. Also, some stuff with Andy Wilson with the Bored as Hell podcast.
Hi, Andy.
Hi, Andy.
And of course, over at Cinema Queens with our good friend Chris.
Hi, Chris.
And we just hit our 1,000th downloads. I'm kind of proud of that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. We're doing it for almost next episode. Well, actually, when this comes out, it'll probably be 6 months. So
cool.
Nice.
I haven't missed a Monday yet. So doing all that stuff, and then also curating our Grindr, Scruff, and Tights with the Z account.
Cool.
But not our fans only account.
No.
You're in charge of that one.
On there, I'm known as the Bottle Rocket.
Pew!
The Bottle Rocket himself, Mr. Todd.
Only truth, people. It's only truth.
I'm known as the Sparkler.
Wait, is it fans spelled normal? Because I went to fansonly.com and it took me to CBS Sports. I don't think that's right. Or is it like fans?
Oh, it's only fans, maybe.
Only fans. Okay, go on, Todd.
Hey, I'm Todd. You can find me here in Salt Lake City hanging around with Mr. Maya and the DM himself. So,
who's my little bottle rocket?
That's me. So I also... That is brilliant.
We're having way too much
love it. I also have a podcast that my parents can listen to called English Class Hooligans. I do with my better half, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hey. I'm sorry for this one episode, dear.
Does Amy listen to the show, though?
Oh, heavens no.
What book can people expect this month?
We're doing Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut.
It's true. We're probably going to record it this weekend, and I'll hopefully get it out.
That's right.
Okay, so here's the funny thing about that show. My mom, like, when those shows come out, my mom is the driving force behind it. She is like our biggest fan, and she's harassing me when there aren't new episodes. Like, because I've been bad about getting them out on time. And my mom's like, I haven't seen a new episode yet. I've been checking every day, and I'm like, okay, Mom, I'll put down a new episode.
Call an RSS feed. It'll tell you when it's there.
I know, but it's just funny. Like,
but what channel is it on?
What channel is it on?
What station?
What channel is the Netflix on?
What station? What time? Do I need to set the VCR?
Yes, the VCR. Just get your Betamax player going, and we'll get your 8-track ready to go.
The only person I've ever known who actually owned a Betamax was Q. Q's family is the only people I've ever known who actually had a Betamax. It's weird.
Q.
Yes. He would appreciate that.
He would, actually.
He would like that one.
Cool.
But yeah, I think that's it for my intro. And right now we're drinking a fine whiskey that we're all enjoying here.
Yes.
So if you want to talk to me about booze, if you ever see me, I'm all about that. I like whiskey and tequila.
He's all about
You like tequila?
I do like tequila.
Some people are all about the Benjamins.
You know, it used to be rum, and I think I've replaced rum with tequila.
I love tequila.
The thing about rum is, like, unless you're on a beach on vacation, I don't know if I'm really totally down with rum. And I think rum is also one of those, like, beginner alcohols. You know what I mean? Because, like, I was into rum early on as well. And I think eventually, like, you move away from that sweetness and get into more savory flavors.
Absolutely. It's too sweet. I had a mixed drink the other day. I had some blue curacao I was using. Mm-hmm. And it's like liquid Smarties. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh.
Hey, Maya, remember that rum drink I made you?
No.
No, you don't. It was that impressive, huh?
You're the one who named it.
I am.
Yeah, decisions in the glass.
Slip and slide.
So the Martins used to do a slip and slosh party every year.
Yeah, till we got old.
Till we got old.
Yeah, and then every single year, whoever got like annihilated the first or like didn't know where they were because they were so drunk got the Golden Rattle Award.
Unless you were trying to actively.
Yeah, you couldn't actively. You had to just happen organically. So that was like the first time I ever met Kat actually, and so I just like my signature drink was I think I actually done it on the podcast too. It's Malibu rum, vodka, lime juice, and Cat's Cooler. Mm-hmm. And it tastes like just lovely happiness. Yeah. So I kept on making them for Maya. It's funny. I was like, dude, like, I'm tired of doing this. You go make them. So about an hour later, we're like, where the fuck is Maya? And we go out front, and what was Maya?
I wasn't passed out, but I was close.
Under a bush. And then Eddie's drunk ass goes over to try to help him up, and then Eddie falls down.
Oh, so nice.
It was fun.
So you have Eddie and Maya romping in the grass.
Somewhere, if you go back to my Twitter feed, twitter.com/Mr. Maya, however many years ago that was, I was almost blackout drunk tweeting, but I wasn't quite blackout drunk, because I remember it.
The drunkest lupus.
The drunkest lupus.
Did I just text Todd when I'm drunk? Like, the last time I was really drunk, I was texting Todd, and I was lying on the floor underneath my cat's, like, little toy and just swatting at it. Like, I'm just like...
That was good times. I also have a dear friend named Sheena who listens to the show.
Hi, Sheena.
Hi, Sheena. Whenever she's out with friends and drinking too much and her husband isn't available, I am a very safe person to be texting while drunk. So I get a lot of drunk texts from Sheena. It's good times. I always enjoy it.
Well, and I remember you drunk texting me from Seattle once. I think you started the tradition because you were drunk texting.
Oh, that was pretty amazing. I was a little too drunk, and I was doing the Underground Seattle tour.
Which is really fun, by the way. I highly recommend it.
It was good times. I still remember that. It was great times. But, yeah, I was a bit drunk and texting you. You know, it's a lot of fun. I really recommend. If you're drunk, like, what do you do while you're drunk? You start texting people.
Yeah, nothing bad can come of that. Text your boss, ex-girlfriends. You know, it's fine.
Why not? Apparently, I thought I was Rodgers and Hammerstein the last time I was drunk at an airport.
Well, I mean, and we've all heard my weed story where I think everything turns into a musical. I've been sorely disappointed ever since. But...
Well, you surround yourself with people in musicals, so for you, it might be true.
It's very true. I am surrounded by people singing constantly. I have I added to this. I have a playlist on my Spotify account that's random songs I've started singing at work. And it is like a really random assortment. And today I added, if you're going to San Francisco, be sure to put some flowers in your hair. And the theme song to the Jeffersons were the two things I added at work today. So that's...
Well, you also need to add, just to make it well-rounded, Closer by our dear friend.
I haven't done that one, though.
That one would be a good one. Just start singing Closer.
Yeah, normally
that'd be great.
A lot of times they somehow have a reference to like what's going on in my day. You know what I mean? Like... I haven't had a term, a reason at work to say I'm going to fuck you like an animal. Like, that just hasn't come up yet. But
you can say, help me.
But maybe if we get into OnlyFans.com, maybe that will become a thing that will become part of our daily work lives or something.
Why not? Anything to make a buck. I think that's the point of OnlyFans.com.
Apparently. And speaking of anything to make a buck, hi, I'm Brian. I'm a sound designer based in Southern California. And yeah, that's about all I got right now. So like I said before, we are doing Ringside this week. It is a crime book involving the world of wrestling. Is that a fair assessment of this book?
Yes, it is. In fact, if you look on the back of the trade, it's actually categorized as a crime book.
Well, then.
It is.
Is that because there's not a comic book wrestling...
or sports ball?
Sports ball?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Is there a sports ball category? I feel that would be a slimmer category in the genre world.
That's an interesting question.
Graphic novels.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know there is like a sports category for like literature and stuff like that, and for like books and things like that. So I mean, I don't know.
Because if you have like new names for different genres or whatnot, you could almost have a genre just called The Hobbit for superhero books and other villains, because it seems like every time Batman catches a villain, he sends him to Arkham, but you can just call the whole story There and Back Again. Because no matter what you're doing, he sends them to Arkham and they come back to him later on. Well, the Rogues Gallery can just be called The Hobbit.
Well, there you go.
This is very true, yes.
Problem solved.
They're going on an adventure!
That's what Maya says when he's drunk.
Yeah, it is.
Well, speaking of drunk, of course, for every book we do here, we have to have a drinking game.
And now for sports.
Listen up, sports fans. Prepare yourself and your liver for this week's drinking game. Remember, it's only a game, and a dumb one at that. So don't take it too seriously, and above all else, please drink responsibly.
My drinking game is called The Drinky Place. It's take a drink for every time there's a scene in a bar in this book. That is more evil than you would expect it to be. Mr. Maya, what is your drinking game rule?
My drinking game rule is called Inside Baseball. There's a lot of terms in professional wrestling. Some you may not recognize, some I'll give you right now. But anytime you see a term you don't recognize or hear any one of the following, take a drink. Face, heel, job, kayfabe, angle, mark, push, putting over, developmental, or just any specific term you might not understand.
Cool. Mr. Todd, what is your drinking game rule?
Aye, that looks painful. So, anytime someone is getting the utter living shit beat out of them, have it be with a monkey wrench or other such implements, or there is blood being splayed across the panel, you should take a drink.
Awesome. And
or you take a look at someone's face with boils and bruises and whatnot. You should also take a drink.
Okay. Mr. Adam, which drinking game rule are you going to go for?
I'm going to go with the dude abides. Every time someone says the word dude, take a drink.
The dude.
Do you want me to mention the last one as well? Because I have it written down.
The other one I was going to do was Lost in the Labyrinth. So anytime they mention the word Minotaur, take a drink.
Minotaur or Mentor?
Minotaur.
Oh, I think you said Mentor, and I was like, I don't remember Mentor being in there.
It's like symbiote.
Symbiote.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the dead silence that follows that.
Yeah, that was...
Thank you.
Those are those weird things where it's always so awkward when I'm editing it. I'm like, do I leave the dead silence to let the joke just die, or do I just...
Yes.
No, yeah, let it die, let it just go flat and go, yeah. We thought that would be on... Yeah, just let it die.
Sometimes I trim them up. Sometimes there are, like, for those of you who are listening at home, sometimes there are some pretty epic dead silences after some jokes that fail.
On some of these, it's like War of the Worlds epic dead silence.
Oh, yeah, completely. Yeah, no, like you're wandering through New York City and it's abandoned and there's no one around for miles.
Where is everybody?
Yeah.
Where did everybody go?
Yeah.
Arby's, roast beef sal.
They have the meats.
I love that commercial. Do you remember that commercial?
Which one?
He's in like the middle of a downtown like New York City. It's all black and white. He's running up and down the streets going, where is everybody? Where did everybody go? Because it's blank. And there's like the second guy is the only one there. And he's like, Arby's, roast beef sal. And then the first guy's like,
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good ad campaign, actually. I don't remember that commercial. That's a good ad.
Yeah, it was.
Nice.
It's
nice
Mad
plan.
Men
The
worthy.
post-apoc. Yeah, well, of course. Well, cool. So this is the time in which we do our votes as to whether or not it is worth you, our dear listeners, hard-earned time, money, and effort to go hunt this book down and give it a read. We will try to rapid-fire this as quickly as possible. Mr. Todd.
Yeah.
Mr. Adam. What was that? What?
Yeah.
Okay. That sounded just like a bloop to me.
It was a yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm okay. I liked it okay, but I'm not completely sold. And Mr. Maya.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Can you make that a little more seductive for me?
Oh, face.
Oh, yes.
There we go. That's what I'm looking for. That's exactly what we want. Okay, Mr. Maya, is there any forewarnings you feel like the readers need to have before they go into this book?
No. I mean, it's a volume 1. Everything you need to know is in the book. Just know that it's not a straight crime book and it's not a straight wrestling book. It's a bit of both.
You just need your thesauri for the jargon lingo.
Yeah, which, speaking of which, so this is titled Volume 1, Kayfabe. What is a kayfabe?
So, kayfabe is... let's see, what's the best way to explain it? Here, let me actually look up... It's like one of those things that I know what it is, but it's...
There's always those things where those words where, like, you understand them in context, but it's, like, hard to describe, like to define them, like what.
Kayfabe is when it refers to the portrayal of like events in wrestling as real.
Okay.
Even though we all know wrestling is staged or whatever. Like for example, if say me and Todd we're having a feud on TV,
beef.
If we were seen, eating at Cracker Barrel together, being buddies out in public, we'd be breaking kayfabe.
Oh, gotcha. It's breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Okay. Or destroying the illusion or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were to break kayfabe. So kayfabe is the illusion of reality.
Pretty much.
Where does that term come from?
That's a good question.
Let
me look it up on my good friend.
Because they don't really do that with like sitcoms and whatnot. Like the actors and actresses.
Well, yeah, because like that's because everyone knows that sitcoms and that kind of stuff is fake, and even though everyone should know wrestling is fake, it gets the keeping up appearances. Staged.
It's a production.
It is a show.
I'm just on Wikipedia, and it says various sources have suggested different origins for the term kayfabe, but the actual origin is not known with certainty. One theory suggests it was derived from a word manipulation of the term "be fake," from Pig Latin, or through Pig Latin, designed to conceal the true meaning. Another theory claims that there's actually a wrestler named Kay Fabian who was mute. There's no real. Okay. It's one of those things that popped into existence and no one knows why. I blame the Mandela effect.
All right.
Well, it's also, like being in theater, like I know 4 different reasons why the green room is called the green room. So you know what I mean? Like there's a lot.
But which one's the real one?
They're all real.
Exactly.
They're all real. As they need to be.
I don't know.
They're real.
I have my own personal theories. But that's a totally different issue.
Where you go on stage.
No, well, I've done a production where that was the case. Yes.
See. You're looking green. Take care of it. Now go on stage and get her done.
No, the one I think makes the most sense personally, I guess, this is definitely way inside baseball, is that they used to do theaters, they would do them out in public spaces, and so they would be on the public green. So the green space would be the space off to the side of the stage that the actors were waiting on before they came in. So when they ended up getting a theater and actually getting an indoor room, that became, the green room, which makes sense. The other ones that are oftentimes revolve around the use of limelight and having a room painted a light shade of green to help your eyes adjust at the end of the day, but I don't totally buy that, to be honest with you. I don't think that that's really the origin. So but I think that the having it be on the public green is the one that makes the most sense to me. But
all right,
on Wikipedia I looked up green room, and it has like 6 or 7 different possible sources.
Yeah, no, there's a bunch. I just feel like that one makes the most sense, and it goes far enough back that I think that probably is, like it makes a logical sense. Like, oh yeah, you hang out on the green, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh well, now we have a room for where the green used to be, so now it's just the green room, That's my theory. Anyway,
Makes sense.
Yeah. So there you go. There's some useless shit for you. So anyway, okay, so cool. So we will take a little bit of a break and allow you the opportunity to go ahead and read this book if you so desire. If you don't just want to hear us spoil it, well, you've been warned. We're going to spoil the shit out of this coming up. And we will see you on the flip side. Oh, I should leave that in. I hope I do. That nice, that relief of no longer having to talk for a minute.
Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah.
If you have yet to read this week's book and would like to read it now, press pause. Go ahead. We'll wait.
When you have kids, it's almost impossible to find time to catch up on all your geeky obsessions. Comic books, TV, movies, games. We get it. Geek Parenting Podcast understands your pain, and we are here for you. We're geeky parents just like you, and we come together once a week to talk about what it's like to raise your little geeklings while staying true to your fandoms. New episodes every week. Find Geek Parenting Podcast wherever you consume your podcasts. Follow us on social media at Geek Parenting Podcast. Sorry, Stefan.
There is a panel at Comic-Con on the spoiler effect of some kind, like, why people get upset about spoilers and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of interesting.
And everyone has their own stance on this. I seem to be a little bit less in a smaller group on spoilers. Spoilers don't bother me one iota at all.
For me, it depends on what it is.
Nope, I don't care. I mean, just much like, the thing of it is, at the end of the day, it's all about execution and watching how something's being done. The idea of, I'm going to see something that I've never been able to see before. At this point in my life, good luck. We've all seen, there's 5 basic stories in the whole world, but I really like how that was executed. And if anything, if you're more informed before you go in, it's the greater appreciation of the well executed. If going, you can't know anything, just so you're distracted enough to going, that was kind of cool, but you look back and think about it going, I think this fear of that weakens. I think this fear of spoilers masks weaker execution events.
I mean, I understand that logic that if you are so you're hanging on by just what the surprise twist ending. I mean, it's an M. Night Shyamalan problem. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
If that's the big thing, then that hides potentially weak writing. You know what I mean? But like in the case of like Sixth Sense, it rewrites that entire story for you. So like if you know that he's dead before you go into it, that sort of ruins it. You know what I mean? But I don't think that's the norm. I think people get really upset by spoilers for stuff that doesn't really matter. The other thing I find is that like, if people spoil something for me, chances are, unless I'm going to go see that movie next week, I'm going to forget what they told me anyway by the time I see it. You know what I mean? Like, because like I've only watched the first season of Game of Thrones. At some point in time, I intend on going and watching it.
There's bunch of people movies. But a
bunch of people have spoiled shit for me, but like I just don't remember all the things that people have said. You know what I mean? And the odds are I'll be watching the show and go, oh yeah, I remember someone telling me about that. That's pretty much what's going to end up happening.
Well, see, I think my thing is, as Maya said, it depends on the movie. Because, honestly, if I went into Infinity Wars knowing how it ended, that was kind of upsetting because that went to a different direction of where I thought it was going to go. Same thing with like Last Jedi and stuff. But for me, it's almost like I kind of like going in blind because as a musical theater guy and going to see, shows that I've got the soundtrack memorized, when you go in, you're waiting for that one song that you absolutely love. You can kind of rush through it. Yeah, you lose focus because you're waiting to get to that one big part you've been waiting for. And I think if you let's say let's say the next Infinity War comes out and you know who's going to die, you might spend too much time wondering how it's going to get there than placing yourself in the moment and being present for the story that's being told.
See, I guess for me, much like with Shakespeare, I much better appreciate great productions when I know can do it. Like Shakespeare's a bit of a trick, but Absolutely, and you even find this with students. If you prepare them and you read like Hamlet beforehand and you go see Hamlet, you can draw a whole lot more out of it because you're aware of what's coming up and going on. Or even the great Euripides and Sophocles and those things, everyone's kind of expected to know what's up. See?
But I think there's a difference between reading Shakespeare and then going to see a play performed,
right?
Than someone being like, "Hey, guess what? Infinity War, Spider-Man dies."
Here's the thing: in the Spider-Man case, though, I think there's a slight difference between just saying that Spider-Man dies and then describing the Peter Parker panic and the pleading to Iron Man and all that sort of stuff. Like that, I feel like is more of a spoiler, and that's more invasive. If you were to say Peter Parker dies, that wouldn't bother me as much as sitting there going, "Oh, dude, it's this dramatic, heart-wrenching scene that's really going to fuck you up." You know what I mean?
Did you know that Tom Holland improvised that scene?
I heard that recently. I didn't know it until recently, but yeah, I heard that.
Sure.
All right.
Because he's an evil bastard, apparently.
That's how it
he
goes.
can't keep a secret, so.
But with me and spoilers, I don't care. I bring it on. It doesn't really affect one way or the other. It's like spoiling the Meg. How do you spoil the Meg? It's big sharks.
See, that's one of those instances. Like, I wouldn't mind
spoiling.
spoilers for the Meg, or people telling me what happens. But then, like Infinity War, I wouldn't want anyone. Ask Adam. He got to see it 2 days before me, and I was like. He was probably like, this grumpy fuck. Like, anytime anyone would talk about it, I'm like, I don't want to hear it.
Well, when I said something because our friggin' Rebecca Frost went and saw it, and so she was dying for there to be like a Captain Marvel cameo. And so we were talking about how much that would be important for. And just, it was funny because on our group chat we were home playing Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and I was like, oh, hey, guess what? We're playing as Captain Marvel in this. It had nothing to do at all with Infinity War or anything that happened in there. And Mine's like, you just fucking give me a spoiler? Like, I'm legit playing a video game that's like, Rebecca, guess what we're doing?
But it was a spoiler.
It was a minor spoiler. But you didn't see her, so I didn't like.
Yeah, but see, my brain puts stuff together like, why would Eddie be playing this character immediately after watching the movie? Like, I went from this to this to this to this.
It was honestly just because you had to play as her in one part of the game. It wasn't like, it had nothing to do. And I felt like we just shit afterwards because it was honestly like, I had no intentions of saying there was anything tied to the movie. It's just like, hey, guess what we're doing? Because we were like gushing about Captain Marvel with her for like 2 hours earlier, so. Up next on the spoiler podcast.
All right.
Moving on. So, Mr.
Wait,
Maya,
Bruce Willis was dead?
The whole time.
I actually guessed the ending before I saw it.
He was also
dead
in the movie
So here's an interesting one that I never noticed, but a friend of mine had gone to see that movie with his wife, who was a costume designer, and she noticed he was wearing the same clothes or same combination of clothes the entire movie. So, like, it gave it away to her, and that he's not wearing his wedding ring. Like, she looked at his costume and knew, like, immediately, like, oh, he's already dead. Because he's wearing the same clothes he died in, like, the whole time. Was one of those, like, oh, okay.
No, mine was just in college. I think it was freshman year. Everyone was like, oh my god, this movie's got the biggest twist in the world. You'll never guess what it is. I'm like, oh, he's dead, isn't he? Oh, have you seen it? Like, no.
That's how it goes. I did see the trailer for Glass, though, and that was a lot of fun.
I still need to watch Split.
So, I haven't seen that.
I'll watch it with you.
But guess what I just noticed? I think it's on both. It's weird because it's both on Amazon and Hulu. I didn't know. Did anybody else notice that this movie was on now?
Which one?
No. Split?
Mother.
Oh, yeah.
Hulu's on Hulu now, yeah.
Mother,
it's on
I know.
Hulu, and I think it's on Amazon Prime. I think it's
when
on
you
both.
log into Hulu, Mother is like on the splash page right there at the beginning. So you see
I'd rather be in your splash zone.
You know,
well, you would
every
be
day
moist.
of my life.
I hate you all.
Moist
Actually, we were playing.
I think the intro music for Mr. Adam here in wrestling has to be Danzig.
Mother. No, we were playing Quiplash last night. It was me, Clark, Sierra, or our friend Brandon, and so I think it was like Clark or someone. There was like a moist hole or something like that. I'm like, no, it has to be Moist Mother. So then Clark went up and changed his name to Moist Mother. I'm like, thanks, I love you so much, honey.
That's what he does.
Okay, well, Mr. Moist Mother himself, Mr. Maya. Actually, you're not Mr. Moist Mother, but Mr. Maya. Since you're the one who recommended this book, do you want to give us a quick rundown of the plot in 30 seconds or less? Or
yeah. So the main character Danny is returning from wrestling in Japan. His ex-boyfriend Teddy, who I can't remember.
Gay.
Yeah.
Gay.
Has gotten himself into trouble, and Danny is. The story is him trying to go through to figure out where Teddy is and what to do to get him out of trouble.
Okay.
And
We don't really get a resolution at the end of this. We just basically get him kind of starting to get thrown into a world that he's going to have to fuck some shit.
Yeah, this is very much like part one of a story.
This is like the first episode of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so from what I looked at on Ringside, they put out the third trade. They haven't had an issue come out since April of this year. I don't know, because it hasn't been coming out very consistently. I don't know if that third trade is the end of the story or not. I don't know. Have you read that? Or
I haven't. I'm behind. It had been coming out consistently.
Well, it was
I'll look into it. Well,
because just going back to it, it was like it was consistent for a little while, and then it was ended up. It's like so. It was November, December, January, February, March, and then it went August, then September. Then December, then it was March, May, August, October, November, then January, then April. So they haven't had anything out since April, but they've also been sort of slowing down. So I don't know if it's done or and there's just the 3 trades or what. But there's 15 issues total so far.
It has ended.
It has ended.
Looked it up. Yeah, it says it'll end with issue 15, which will be the third trade.
Okay, so yeah, so the whole series is currently out, and so you can, if you so desire, go out and finish off this whole book. So, Mr. Maya, I know there's a lot of inside terminology and things like that that play into this. You want to enlighten us as to some of the things we may have missed when we read this and not known all the...
Yeah, here, let me go through my list here.
Is this a list of general terms, or is this a list of terms you noticed in the book itself?
Terms I noticed in the book.
Okay.
There may be a couple that aren't in there that I might have thought, but... So the first two are heel and face. Face is short for baby face, which means the good guy, the hero. Heels are villains. Job or doing the job means taking the loss, so like laying down for someone, getting pinned. Kayfabe we talked about. Angle. An angle is essentially a storyline.
Oh, okay.
So if I'm in an angle with Todd, that means we have a story going.
Yeah, you do.
Marks are fans that are way too into it, or buy the realism of it.
You mean the ones we were standing next to last time we went out?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, fucking marks. A push.
So mark is a negative term then.
It can be. If
you think about it like in a con game, a mark is who you're going after.
That's exactly what it is.
You're trying to convince somebody of something, yeah.
A push, or giving someone a push, means essentially giving them a bigger spotlight. Like, say, if Todd's, he's kind of doing smaller matches or kind of lower card matches, just, kind of show filler. If I give him a push into, like, a bigger story, it's essentially giving him a promotion just to see how he handles, if the crowd reacts. See if he's marketable. Developmental is essentially like their training, like a training system, or like the equivalent of a farm league for like baseball. But yeah, putting someone over can have a couple of different meanings. Cut this out, future Brian.
Yay, future Brian!
It's the act of making someone look good. If we go out there and if Todd and I have a match, and
I'm not really up to snuff, but it looks like I am.
And Todd's, I do whatever I can to make Todd look fantastic, even if he might not be. I'm putting him over.
All right. So, anything short of taking a dive?
No.
Is that sort of like something like putting it over the top? Is that what
anything that makes someone else to look better?
Okay.
And so is that from like putting someone over the top, or is that sort of where that term comes from?
No idea.
I think so. That makes sense right there. I'm going to put you over the top. We're really going to sell this.
So, Mr. Adam, as a fellow wrestling fan, how much of this rings true to you?
Oh, yeah. The whole time I was, if I went... So, one thing I should have said when we did our votes as far as yes or no was that if you go into this and you don't know jack shit about wrestling, you're probably going to, need to go on your Google and pull up these terms.
And actually, if you go to Wikipedia... There is a Wikipedia page that is a list of professional wrestling terms.
Yeah, and it's like their categories A through Z. So if you go in, you don't know anything. So if you didn't know face, heel, putting over, Katie, all that kind of fun stuff, you're going to be kind of confused. Kind of like if you go into a random DC book from like the 80s and you don't know who the fuck these people are. But no, it's if you have that information, you go in. It was kind of fun because I didn't when it said Ringside, for some reason I thought it was a boxing one again, and so I didn't realize it was wrestling until I actually went and like started reading it, and it was kind of fun to go through and be like, oh, I know what this means. I felt like it was like Captain America was like, oh, I understand that reference.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have that basic understanding, it's a lot more fun to read. I think it would detract a bit if you had to stop every 5 seconds. It's like, you're like when you're reading Shakespeare to be like, the fuck did you just say?
To be fair, though, as I was trying to pay attention to that as I read it, and the terms when they pop up, that's usually like 2 or 3 of them on one page, and then you don't have to look up another one for another. Like,
right. It's intermittent enough to where if you didn't, it'd be like a different language if you didn't know what they were saying. But yeah, if you have that wrestling background, you'll definitely have a lot more fun with it. And yeah, everything they said was right. I understood exactly what they were saying and doing the whole time. So
you're welcome.
Okay, well then, Todd, as a non-wrestling fan, what are your thoughts?
So I love crime genre, and that really is what's saying to me on this one. I mean, I enjoy wrestling. I've come over to Maya's place a few times here and there to watch some of it, but I don't necessarily seek it out on my own. So with that being said, it wasn't that much of it. Yes, they had these terms, but context clues go in, and you just go with it. You're fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the crime story is fun. I mean, what's great about crime? It's death, blood, sex, that sort of thing going on. You have
There's a lot of blood in this book,
and there's a lot of blood in this book. So it's just like heightened reality is what you're watching here, and it's just a specific thing of that. Yeah, there were terms that floated in every scene of them, and it seems those terms are used enough to get like the cred and the credence for the community that they were writing about, and it was doing a good job with that, but it's balanced it out with those that say, hey, I like comic books, let me read this. I may not be totally familiar with wrestling, but I was fine. So I enjoyed it. It went through. Could I have gotten more out of it if I had the dictionary of terms for maybe a bit, but I don't really think it was that much in the way, but it was a pretty good crime story. So.
Also, I really enjoyed the fact that we had 2 gay characters in the book, and their sexuality was just kind of so briefly mentioned and almost glossed over that it was an important part because the main character's trying to go find his ex-boyfriend, and then there's one younger wrestler who mentions like, oh, he's like my significant other. He's like, who the fuck says that? He's like, my boyfriend. He's like,
so you essentially had 2 gay relationships.
2 gay relationships, yeah. And and it was because obviously, wrestling is a very macho, testosterone and estrogen-fueled sport. And isn't there which wrestler is out right now? I know there's one. Is it in NXT? Maya would know this one. I know there's some retired ones.
So currently in the WWE, there's a wrestler named Sonya Deville. Mm-hmm. She's out. There was a wrestler that used to work for WWE named Darren Young.
Yeah.
He was also out. But he's no longer with the company.
Yeah, and we're just waiting for Finn Balor to come out. So
I think hoping is the better term.
But no,
what term?
Hoping is what I think Adam is actually meaning to say.
But no, it was nice to actually have, again, it's the perfect way of coming out. Like they did it back in the Star Wars novel where this guy just happened to mention this woman was all pissed off because she's sitting on him, and he's like, I'm not interested. And she's like, oh, you're just pissed off because I'm an alien. She's like, no, it's because you're a woman. And she's like, oh, and then it was just never spoken of again. So
yeah, and the Flash did it with the police captain. Mm-hmm. He was like, oh, my husband, and then it wasn't a big deal. He was just talking about.
Or like Sulu in Star Trek Into Darkness, where it's just like, oh, here's my baby, my husband, yay, and then they walk off. So I think that's it's a great way to be like, hey, we LGBT people exist. They're part of your lives, and they're just who they are. So.
Well, I think, from obviously it's not representative of me, but from my perspective, I kind of like it that way because it's for people who there's a lot of people who are maybe slightly homophobic who are always afraid of it being shoved down their throat.
Which I always think is a really funny.
I think it's a hilarious term.
It's a great phrase.
But I think the honest fact of it is just sitting there saying this is what it is, and it plays into the story in this element of it, and other than that, we don't worry about it. You know what I mean? And I think that's probably helpful for those people. For me, we do a whole book of Pride months every year, so I'm not really too worried about it one way or the other. But it's kind of, from that perspective, it is kind of nice. It's also one of those things where it's like, I totally forgot that he's going after his boyfriend. I was like, oh yeah, he is going after his boyfriend. I don't really care that much. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. It could be a girlfriend, it could be a boyfriend, it could be his dog, and it'd be John Wick. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. You know, so Mr. Todd, what are your thoughts?
You know, with this book, I haven't read other things the author's written. What else has he written?
The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is he did I think it only ran like 9 issues, but he did the Morbius series for Marvel a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I don't really read much Marvel. That'd be why.
He did some Spider-Man. He did some Superman. He did some Batman.
Oh, okay.
He's done a bunch of like. He's worked on a lot of the big stuff. He's written a bunch of
I
stuff.
got my
here
copy
and
of Spider-Man 4 with the naughty bits in it.
Yes, the CES letter.
Oh,
Yes,
I
got my
got
last
that
copy.
one too, actually.
So there you go. Go Ryan. So the book was fun and enjoyable. You know, the art, it's a little bit blocky in style. It wasn't going for any kind of hyper realism. It's going definitely out of style. It's kind of like a Mignola-esque type of a thing going on.
Mignola or Oming, who did the Powers.
Right.
Yeah.
So Oming and Mignola, if you like those guys' art style, very much so, you'll be right at home here in Ringside. And it worked well with the story. It's the colors were good and did that. Once again, the writing was fine. It was thoroughly enjoyable.
Durable.
Thank you. That's what happens when I drink Maya's whiskey as well. So thank you. I enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. So
Smashing.
it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a good read. I'm not sure I'm going to read the next one, I guess, is my review of what I was really thinking about it. But it's the characters are there. I could identify with them. And yes, he was going after his boyfriend. But we have this character that was going after their SO per se, or XSO. And it was good. The motivations were laid out well. I was never going, why the fuck are they doing this? So I think that's a sign of success.
Yeah, the one slight beef I have with the art is his friend who's in the wheelchair, whose name I'm not remembering off the top of my head.
It's always Wheels.
Wait,
Like the Burger King Kids Club?
The Burger King Club?
You know,
wow, we all went the same spot. That's amazing.
The Kroll Show. Did any of you guys ever watch the Kroll Show?
I've seen maybe 1 or 2 episodes.
So it's a sketch show with Nick Kroll starring, and he's got one called Wheels Ontario is one of his reoccurring sketches, and it's like Degrassi is what it's making fun of, and there is totally a character named Wheels.
Well, that's where the rapper Drake came from, and he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
He got shot up in a school shooting.
Sure.
So.
I know this because Eddie knows this.
Okay. No, but so the thing about it was with the art on that character, the first issue that they were in, I thought it was a woman, and then I'm reading later and I'm going, oh wait, it's a guy. Like I was very confused. Like I was having a hard time telling, if it was a female or male character. Yeah. So it was just, I mean, and the thing is that because potentially there's sexual tension one way or the other. You know what I mean?
Maybe he's bi.
Maybe. And maybe he is, but but none of it was implied. But I could see in future episodes or future issues where that comes into play, depending on it one way or the other. But just one of those things where I was reading it, and just the art style, I was like, oh wait, that character it doesn't read as feminine or male. I mean, I guess one way or the other. Like it was just sort of like everything was a little bit similar, so that was a little bit hard for me to do. But that's sort of one of my only major critiques about the art. But yeah, it is kind of blocky. It is a little bit cartoony.
It's kind of like Powerpuff Girls style.
A little bit, and there's some scenes in here that look like
it's
if
not
the Powerpuff Girls drew Pulp Fiction. There's a couple scenes inside bars and whatever. I can keep expecting the Zed's dead to show up or something like that. Mm-hmm. But, Mr. Meyer, what are your thoughts?
I like wrestling and I like crime, so this book kind of hit all the notes for me. As far as the art,
criminal.
I am. As far as the art goes, I agree 100% with everything you guys have said. I did like Danny's lack of fucks to be given. Even though everyone's like, you're a wrestler. Like, have you been in a real fight before? Mm-hmm. And he's just like, I gotta save Teddy. Mm-hmm. And just proceeds to get the ever-living shit beat out of him at every turn. Mm-hmm. Actually, when it gets to the end here and they bring Teddy out and you see that the bad guy here had gotten him addicted again to drugs and then basically used that to make him owe him money, I felt really bad. And I want to see this asshole die, so I'm probably will be picking up the other 2 volumes.
Sure.
Especially with the way this book ends. And it kind of reminded me of that scene in the 5th season of Breaking Bad when the guy brings Walter the gun that he buys the guns from before he goes and takes down the evil gang.
The cartel thing.
The cartel, yeah.
Sure.
But that's kind of what the end of this book reminded me of when they're looking in the trunk of his car and he sees like all the guns. But yeah, I kind of like the side story too of the young up and comer guy, in the scene between him and the older guy who I can't
remember his name either though.
But he's like, oh cool, yeah, they're putting me on TV, and the older guy's, oh, they're sending me down to developmental to teach. Like basically, he's super depressed because his career is over.
Right.
You know what's the saying? Those who can't do teach.
Yeah. Careful with that statement.
Hi, Amy.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Mr. Adam, what are your thoughts?
I had a good time with it too. I'm with Todd. I mean, the art was different. It wasn't really my style. I think it was well done and accomplished what it tried to do. But it wasn't my favorite part of the book. But definitely the writing was great. I mean, these characters are relatable. Again, you know, it is always nice to see representation from my culture on there, even if it, you know, and being done the right way, not to be the butt of a joke or be, you know, the obvious like, hey, look what we're doing kind of thing. You know, I love crime stories, and wrestling's near and dear to my heart. So this kind of squished everything together, and made something that was really enjoyable. Unlike the Happy Time Murders, which took everything I love and was shitty. You know, Muppets, film noir, and raunchy comedies, put those things together.
And Melissa McCarthy should just make me the happiest motherfucker alive, and no. So, but this one I managed to take all these disparate elements that you wouldn't think would go. I mean, wrestling with a crime story, like, you wouldn't think that would work together. But it kind of dovetails nicely here, and I don't know when I'll go out and read what's going to happen next, because I do want to see what's going to happen, but it's not... When I eventually get them. You get them, yeah. I didn't realize I had the book, and I already went out and bought it again, so... thankfully, the first 3 issues are for free on Comixology.
So you just bought 1 issue?
Like 1 or 2. Yeah, it was like $4. Wasn't bad. But it was... No, I really enjoyed it, and I had a good time reading it. It's a really fast read. I mean, you can tear through it in like half an hour. And it's one that you don't have to stop and pay so much attention to detail that you're worried you're going to miss out. It's kind of like, you know, like a popcorn action flick. You can just go through, have fun, and then go about your day. Like, I could see this, and again, I don't know how it ends, but I could easily see this being made into like a movie or something.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Or maybe like an HBO series.
And like a one season series.
One season series, yeah. Because I think there's 15 issues?
Yeah. In total, sure. Netflix. This
I mean,
Netflix thing. Companion to Glow.
There you go.
Maybe this is the season 3 of Glow.
Yeah, it's just getting there.
Well, cool. Does everybody have cocktails?
I do.
You do?
Behold, we finally fulfill the second half of our title and make with the fire water.
Alcoholics transform!
We need to get these bitches drunk.
That sure smells boo!
Let's see. Let's go with Mr. Todd. What is your cocktail?
I went with the classic. If you read this, you definitely know that Monkey Wrench plays a role. And so I went with the classic Monkey Wrench cocktail. So, and this description here is quite nice, but it's so the Monkey Wrench is an adjustable wrench, sometimes referred to as a pipe wrench. It's also been called a Ford wrench because of its inclusion, blah blah blah, or a coach wrench for use on the odd-sized nuts of a wagon wheels in the 18th century England.
I thought you meant like if a player on a sports team was playing awful, the coach would beat the shit out of him.
With the monkey wrench, that's what it is for.
Wrench.
So, but to make the said monkey wrench, what you need is a Collins glass. You take 1.5 ounces of light rum, 4 ounces of grapefruit juice, and you just pour it in the cup. There's no need to shake the shit out of it. We're not really stirring it. You're just adding one, then you add the other. Just put in a couple dashes of your Angostura bitters, and then you just garnish it with a maraschino cherry. You toss it in there, have some ice, and you serve it. And it's known as the monkey wrench. Grapefruit juice.
It's a really good Foo Fighters song.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Mr. Adam, what is your cocktail?
So my drink is called the Arm Bar. What you do is you take one of the small cans of Red Bull, you pour that in a glass, and then in a shot glass you add equal parts of vodka and amaretto, a splash of grenadine, a squirt of lemon juice.
Squirt?
Yeah, exactly.
And you take lemon juice.
that would sting.
That was earlier with Clark.
Then you take that shot glass and you drop it in the Red Bull and you chug it just like a Jaeger bomber.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so a little bit different than I normally do. So,
Mr. Maya, what is yours?
Mine's called the Body Slam. It sounded interesting to me. Like, I don't know if I'd actually try it, but I kind of want to, but at the same time, I kind of don't.
Well, it's Labor Day, so we can't get stuff anyways.
But it's a half ounce of cinnamon schnapps, half ounce of Jack Daniels, and a half ounce of tequila. Mix it together in a glass of crushed ice and garnish with mint leaves.
I was with you till the tequila.
So cinnamon. Let's go
Whiskey.
through this again. Cinnamon whiskey. Well,
Cinnamon schnapps.
Schnapps. Okay.
Jack and tequila. Oh, if only y'all could see the look on Todd's face right now.
That does not sound great. I'd have to try this though.
Yeah,
I think it would be the mint leaves.
The mint leaves would be the
difference.
saving grace.
So I didn't know this, but we went to Bar X during the Damn These Hills Film Festival, and I got one of those their craft drinks there. And most of the time when you go to a bar and you get like the mint, it's always like 2 or 3 mint sprigs and they muddle it. They had like full on mint sprigs, like the little stick, and they would beat them against their arm to activate the mint. I'd never seen it do it before, so I was like, that's really. I got the moment from watching Hell's Kitchen and shit, but like that's really cool because
you
never actually had
it in person.
Yeah, because it's always been like squish, 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 and then you get this little like sad little mint in the bottom of your
fight, kiss, kiss, kiss.
Pew pew pew.
Yes.
Pew, 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 pew.
So says the bottle rocket.
That's you, sir.
And what about your drink, Brian?
My drink is a Ring My Bell. It is 2 ounces of tequila, 1 ounce of lemon juice, a half ounce of agave, 3/4 ounce of chili-infused Saint Germain, bitters, bell pepper, cilantro, and Arapal chili. In a shaking glass, you muddle the bell pepper slices and the cilantro, add tequila, lemon juice, agave, and chili-infused Saint Germain, add ice, and shake the shit out of it. Strain mixture into a glass over ice, and drop in a layer of bitters over the top, and garnish with the chile.
That sounds delicious, and ass squirts afterwards.
Yeah.
Delicious.
It sounds like a Todd drink if ever I saw one, really.
It really does. I mean, there's a lot of spiciness going on there, and it might be, when you put spiciness in with alcohol, it is spicy, and yet it isn't.
Yeah.
At the same time, but you can get some of those flavors really coming through. But after the fact, I mean, let's talk about it, the asshole pucker. That sounds pretty cool.
You like the asshole pucker?
If it's done right.
I was definitely disappointing.
So the real trick is, when you're like eating something and you're going, I need to put the toilet paper in the freezer ahead of time. You're having an experience later on, and yeah, I'm down for that at times.
Or anytime you just go to Cheesecake Factory.
Anytime.
Sure. Anytime that one happens.
Sure. Oh no, I don't really have no problem there. But last time I went there, wrecked me in Clark for like 3 days.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, you were in California, and he had to go in there especially and sanitize your bathroom after.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was that bad. He wouldn't let me in there.
Yeah, therapy sessions for the toilet afterwards.
Exorcism.
Oh, okay.
We had a young priest. We had an old priest and a young priest.
So Catholics and the Mormons.
Dum 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 dum.
Yep.
Well, does anyone have any thoughts before we go on to final grades, or are you guys all good?
I've said my point of view.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm good.
Cool. Well, then let's jump into final grades.
Jamie, school is never a waste of time.
Since we have 15 minutes until recess, please put down your pencils and stare at the front of the room.
It's report card time. It's report card time. It's report card time. I'm so fucking thugged.
God, please, no! 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 No!
For our writer, Mr. Joe Keatinge.
Keatinge, yeah.
Keatinge. What is your grade, Mr. Adam?
I'm going to go with a B+. Like I said, the characters were very well realized. The story was interesting. I loved everything about it. The only reason why I'm docking it a tiny bit was, even though it was few and far between, it was often enough to where if you weren't at least understand the elementary basics of wrestling, you probably would have to go pause and look things up, which kind of detracts from the overall writing. But aside from that, it was done very, very well.
Mr. Todd?
Yeah, it's a B. I enjoyed it. It came through. He didn't screw anything up. but I'm not sure I'm going to be running around recommending this, but I enjoyed it. It was fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Maya.
I'm also at a B+. I can't really say anything more that hasn't already been said.
With this book, so it's solid. So did you ever see Jason Statham's remake of The Mechanic?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I like that show, actually.
I liked it.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. It was fine. And people have seen it as like, oh, I enjoyed that. Did we really need the sequel?
Yeah, part of my thing is, while I did really like it, it wasn't life-changing. It's not, going to be on a top 10 must-read list, but it's a good, solid book. So yeah, B,
and that's
B,
why I
B
give it a
plus.
B. Yeah, and that's right there where I give it a B. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you as a B as well. For the art, I think it's Nick Barber, and there's a few other names on there, but I think Nick Barber is the main writer, our main artist. What is your grade, Mr. Maya?
I'm also going to stay with a B. It got the point across. He really knows how to do bloody. Yes. Maybe actually, did I say B or B plus?
You said B.
Well, okay.
You said B.
I couldn't remember. Yeah, we'll keep it at B. Like it was mentioned before, like the one character was hard to tell
gender,
but
and it wasn't written as a character that should have been hard to tell.
Exactly. But by no means did I think it was awful. So yeah, B.
Mr. Adam.
I'm gonna go with the B minus. Like I said, this was interesting art. As Maya said, it did bloody, it did violent very, very well. It just wasn't really my style of art, and it wasn't anything that kind of jumped off the page at me. It got the job done, and it carried the plot forward, but it wasn't anything that I'm going to go back in a couple years and be like, oh, dude, come check out Ringside because it's got the greatest art in it. So.
Okay. Mr. Todd.
See, and that's where it comes in as a C+. It's not quite a poor man's Oming, but just about. It did the job, but, with what Adam was saying there, I'm not telling anyone else, like, so what'd you enjoy about this graphic novel? The graphic part of it was the weaker side of the two. So, yeah, C+.
Okay, and I'm going to go with the C. It was serviceable, but in my opinion, not necessarily great. And for overall grade, we'll go with Mr. Adam.
So I'm going to go just split the middle with a B. It was a fun book. It was interesting. It was entertaining. But it was just there. I've read a lot worse books. I've read a lot better books. It was definitely a step above mediocre to where it was actually enjoyable and good. But, like I said, I'll read the rest of them when Maya picks them up. So.
Okay, speaking of which, Mr. Maya, what's your overall grade?
It's also a B. I'm more inclined to finish it knowing that there's only 3 trades. If it was something that was gonna... I don't... Just based off this, I don't see how it could have been a story that would last more than that. But, 3 trades, you have an Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. So, that kind of keeps it simple. But yeah, a B for this. I gave the art a B, story a B. So that's my overall.
Cool. And I'm going to go with a B minus, kind of the average between my 2 grades. Mr. Todd, what's your grade?
It's a C+. As it goes through here, it didn't do anything majorly wrong. It was fine. It didn't screw up, but it's just so lost in the middle of everything else.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything they want to add in before we move on?
No, I think it's pretty good.
So, I guess we are talking about, this is Sports Month. And as a thing with sports, they're taking a look at the genre of pro wrestling. And I enjoyed it as it comes in. It is a change up from the traditional tight events that we're so often reading and whatnot. And so it does a good job there. It's it did keep its humanity to it, or the crustiness of humanity to it, actually.
The crusty sock of humanity.
Yeah, So, yeah, with the crusty sock there, well and stiff and walking around on its own.
Clark is a free elf.
Clark is a free elf.
My God.
That's inside baseball. Adam,
wow. So, but...
Hey, Maya.
Simba. I really don't want to know on that one.
So remember when you texted me to let you into the gate?
Yes.
I was in the shower because it was Simba.
Thank you for telling me.
You're welcome.
No, thank you for telling me.
Has returned.
Oh, it's burning my eyes.
Yeepers.
That's our safe word.
I know, that's why I said it.
Keepers is?
Deepers. It's an amalgam of yes and deeper.
Oh, So, pro wrestling, folks. Sports! There's own waterworks going on over there. But
that wasn't water.
No, it wasn't. With the sports, it fits firmly into the theme. Yeah, I guess, going whatnot. And I did enjoy that aspect of it and changing up. And there does need to be more of this going on, of this sort of thing. So that I do encourage that and give it a read and let people know that there is so much room in graphic novels to tell the stories one wants to tell. It should not be limited simply to the Tights events. So, yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, then let us... Actually, before we do this, Todd, do you want to tell us about next week's book, Mara? Since that's what we're going to be doing next week, and you're the one who read it before the rest of us did.
I did.
Want to give us a little heads up as to what we're going to encounter next week?
So it's written by Brian Wood of DMZ fame. He also did a big run on The Massive, and he did Northlanders, and one of my favorites called Starf. It's a volleyball player in the future who basically starts realizing and going through events of she's more than simply a Spartan volleyball player, and Akira-like shit ensues.
So that'll be next week. That'll be the finishing off, the culmination of our sports ball month. Who has a recommendation they're dying to get off their chest?
I'll talk about the thing I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
You had mentioned kind of what you were talking about just a second ago with the big tights, and made me think of, Marvel, in the world of pro wrestling, Marvel and DC would be like WWE, whereas everything else would be like independent wrestling. This last weekend... and you can catch this on the Fight TV app or their website, fight.tv. But Cody Rhodes, who's the son of Dusty Rhodes, who's a legend, and the Young Bucks put on they put on the biggest independent wrestling show in history. This was very big for a number of different reasons. It kind of changes the game as far as non-WWE wrestling goes. I believe the term thrown around was, while WWE is fantastic, they don't own pro wrestling. It was a fantastic show top to bottom, including, and this is where I'm going to tie it into comics, and we'll watch this right after we're done recording here. Well, Todd will, and then I'll show Brian when he comes to visit. Christopher in his third wrestling match and first singles match, the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels took on Stephen Amell, Arrow. And all I'll say is I'll sum up the match with one tweet I saw, because normally you see a celebrity in a match and it's just kind of other people kind of carrying it. The celebrity ends up pulling off some sort of bullshit, non-believable win. No, there was no shenanigans. And the tweet I saw said, "We weren't just watching an actor play wrestler; we were watching a promising future professional wrestler." That's how good Stephen Amell was. He brought it. It was amazing. And and just to as a kind of troll against him, Christopher Daniels, the guy who wrestled, who was a 25-year vet, had a Hawkeye patch on his knee pad.
Oh, that's funny.
Because I kind of fuck you. And speaking of Christopher Daniels, we're talking about talking to Brian when I visited him last week as we record this. He's currently, whenever he's not on the road wrestling, in the Waterworld stunt show at Universal Studios.
Yeah, I have a friend who's in that stunt show. It's the guy, it's Hawk, Todd, who I pointed out to you as well. Yeah, Hawk, I texted Hawk and I was like, hey, you know this guy? He's like, oh yeah, when he's not wrestling, he's here. So we verified that he's still on the show when he's not out on the road. But yeah.
Check out All In. If you like pro wrestling and want to try something different, it was... There were a couple of misses, but overall, it was one of the best wrestling shows I've seen top to bottom.
Mr. Todd, do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I do. So, reading around, I haven't actually read it yet, but I do have to say there's a new graphic novel out that came out somewhat recently called Sabrina. It is it's a very much a moment in time talking about a current political climate and a person going on. It's currently up for the Man Booker Prize. So it's the first graphic novel ever nominated for it, and it should. And it's so it's highly political after a major disaster and all the other shit going on right now. and it just dives head on into it. So the art's a bit similar to Fun Home, if you guys are familiar with that one. So it's not going to win any awards. I mean, this person's not going to go work for Marvel or DC anytime soon. But Sabrina is the name of the graphic novel, up for the Man Booker Prize, and that alone should be a reason to check it out. So,
for the record, if you want a physical copy, Amazon is temporarily out of stock.
Yeah, they are. It's getting, So, but you can get it on Kindle and Comixology if you don't want to wait or you just want a digital copy.
My recommendation, I'll throw this out there real fast. I started watching a anime on Amazon called One Punch Man. There's only 12 episodes out right now. There's supposed to be a second season coming out in the near future. It's really fun, kind of in a similar vein to like the comic book I Hate Fairyland. It has a good sense of sort of like kind of poking fun at like superhero genre, but it also has enough interesting things going on its own that it still kind of continues on. It's a guy who decided to be a superhero, developed strength so much that he has no one really to combat with him. And he starts to kind of develops this ennui about, you know, not actually having any real challenges as far as his superheroing goes. It's funny, and it's kind of got a nice little interesting heart to it. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. I've seen the first 3 episodes and really dug it. I only assume the rest of it's really good. I also know there's a lot of people who really enjoy it, so I will recommend that. And Mr. Adam, what do you recommend?
So there's a horror movie that was premiered at Sundance. It was filmed fully here in Utah. It's called Hereditary.
That was filmed all in Utah?
Yeah, it was all filmed in Utah. So it starts with Toni Collette and Gabriel Byrne as mother and father. They have a teenage son and a little daughter who is like 12, 13. And Toni Collette's mom passes away, and at her funeral, she's kind of like, the eulogy is like, hey, I didn't really know her that well. There's, she has her secrets. Some weird stuff was going on. And as the movie plays out, a lot of weird things start happening in this family. And some of it might all be tied back into maybe some things that her mom was involved in. It is very much, and this is one of the creepiest movies I've ever seen. Hands down, has some of the most intense and mesmerizing and I would say disgusting moments I've ever seen in a horror film.
I was gonna say, you don't creep easy either.
Yeah, no, it's not like a jump scare type movie, but it's definitely the atmosphere it sets. There's this constant like whum 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 like in the background when they're at their home. It hits every single note perfectly. We saw it with your roommate, your girlfriend Sarah yesterday, and at this one scene she's like, "No, fuck this movie. I'm done with this movie." But she couldn't turn away. It's that good.
It's unsettling.
It's unsettling, and you can kind of guess where it's going to go as it plays out, but there's a couple scenes in that movie, especially at the end. There's a scene in I won't say where it is, but yeah, it's gross. So it's really good, but it's a very, very well made, one of the best horror films I've seen in years.
Okay. Well, so that'll do it for this week. Obviously, next week, please join us for Mara or Mara, depending on how we fight over the pronunciation of that, to finish up our sports ball month. And then I think next week we also, I know we revealed all the 5 books we are doing for Halloween month. And excited. We have some fun books there. And yeah. Has anybody got anything else?
Nope, I think we're good.
So.
We're good.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
So that happened. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. This band of knuckleheads will be back next week with a new episode. Until then, you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr as Funny Books and Firewater, and on Twitter as @FirewaterCast. Go to funnybooksandfirewater.com for the most up-to-date information, as well as cocktail recipes from this and past episodes. Thank you for joining us. And until next week, support your local comic shop, tip your bartender well, and stay hydrated.